Hey guys, Captain CA here, and welcome back to the FlatsClass YouTube channel. Today we're going to do one on NED leaders. That's the lesson today, NED leaders, Inshore NED leaders. And that comes from a comment that was posted last week from a loyal subscriber, and you should be one too, who asked, wouldn't, leader material dampen the action of those little micro baits? And certainly it would. But here's the solution to that. I'm going to take you inside the studio. We're going to walk through the shop and we're going to go check it out in there because I have been testing some stuff for diamond braid. All the diamond fishing products are a brand new partner of the channel. I want to show you what we're doing and how we're giving these NED inshore baits a lot more action. Come on. All right, these are some of the inshore baits that I'm talking about as far as NED profiles that work really good on saltwater fish. The salty NED shrimps, the TRD minnows, the slim swims naturally in a 3-inch version, and my favorite is this one right here, the finesse TRD, the turd. It started it all. All right, let's just talk leader systems for inshore NED rigs. I personally, this time of year, when I get to a point where you've got the fishable days between the fronts, I'm primarily fishing for redfish. Poling around in that little Hell's Bay Eldora in water that is generally 2.5 to 2 feet deep. And I'm looking for little deeper holes and bowls and troughs along mangroves or oyster bars. And I'm sight fishing to a great extent for redfish. But this works for snook. It works for laid up snook. It works for speckled trout in the deeper holes in the bends of the creeks and rivers. And mostly we're trying to appeal to their suppressed appetite. They're cold-blooded creatures, and their ambient water temperature really dictates how hungry they are or what they're willing to attack and easily digest. Because if they hit a big bait, sometimes it takes a lot of energy to break that big bait down in their digestive tract. There's bone and skin and everything that they have to do. And when you're in these frigid temperatures, these teeny weeny tiny NED baits work really good. Now, does Z-Man and Bugs make specific baits just targeting certain fish? Well, kind of they do. But a lot of the bass profiles work really well. I showed you last week with the top 5 inshore baits for January, like the TRD craws is one of my favorites. It mimics a fiddler crab, but it's really a crawfish bait. Thankfully, Z-Man came out with the NED salty shrimps, which this has been fantastic. It really has been one of those baits that if you're watching any of the stuff that Jesse Wright does or Thawny does, these guys love this bait now. They're catching a lot of fish on it. I've always been able to power finesse fish with, this is the 3-inch slim swims. I've got it with a weedless power shrooms head on it, and it gives me some great casting distance on 10-pound braid. And then naturally, for those of you that love the Little John, you gotta give yourself an opportunity to try out the TRD minnows, which is the old, it's like a storm minnow bait, but I put it on this little Texas Eye finesse head, and it does a good job for me in the grass, really, or the kelp. But if I had to pick a favorite that I use day in and day out, and a lot of it is just because it's such a dense, compact bait where I can really cast accurately with it, whether I'm throwing bait casting gear or spinning gear that we're going to talk about. It would have to be the original TRD finesse.
This is the Hot Snakes color, which is a good color for me this time of year. Dark back, black pepper, more of a chartreuse belly to it. And I typically will rig this on a Pro Shroom's head from Z-Man. It's a piece of their terminal tackle, just because it has a little heavy, more heavy duty size hook in it. Because I am catching redfish up to 30 inches in the shallows, but it also gives me the opportunity if there are laid up snook or something like that, I can catch them. But it's the leader system to give these baits that action that's important. So I did a little drawing. I'm going to show it to you right here. Okay, so let me show you this drawing I made. This is my Ned leader. I have about 4 foot, 48 inches of 15-pound castable fluorocarbon, and then I have a foot going to the lure itself of 20 to 30-pound fluorocarbon. I'll let you guys take a good look at this. 4 feet of the 15-pound castable fluorocarbon. And then I've got a piece of bite tippet that's about 12 inches long. That is your discretion, 20 to 30 pounds. Now, you're probably asking, so how do you connect this stuff? And why are you using castable fluorocarbon as part of your leader system? I'm using castable fluorocarbon. This is a sample product that Diamond has given me to test, okay? Because we're going to maybe have some castable fluorocarbon coming into the product line. So I put like 48 inches of it on the end of my diamond braid here, this white diamond braid. And then I added 30-pound bite tippet. Now to connect it to the diamond braid, the white diamond braid, I tied a very, very small, this is a modified Albright. It's tiny, you can't even see it and you don't even hear it go through the guides. Literally, that knot is so small, it is less visible than an FG knot. I know you find that hard to believe, but in a 10-pound, nice, light, limp braid like Diamond makes right here, this is about the softest braid that you can buy on the market as far as not being stiff. It's not wire-like. It doesn't have that hairspray effect. And when you tie that lightweight braid to a castable, soft, supple fluorocarbon, which is what I've been asking for from them, you get almost a seamless connection, if you will. It's completely seamless. And then as I come from that modified Albright down 4 feet to the last foot, because the overall length of your leader should be about 5 feet long, I blood knot, which is 100% not a common blood knot. It's easy to tie, anyone can tie it, and you can clip it really close with small, tackle scissors. And then I added a piece of 30-pound fluorocarbon. This is standard leader material. And what that does with a clench knot to my jig is it gives me the opportunity, if a snook inhales this bait when I'm fishing in some of these dead-end canals, because that's what I like to do this time of year, is fish a lot of those stagnant type canal systems where they've got good depth, they're protected from a north wind, and there's lots of places for them to lay there in the mud and warm up. So I look for zones like that, I find those snook in there, and I'll just play around with this stuff. So I actually tie 30 on a lot of my stuff. And because it's all fluorocarbon material, the refraction index is closest to water. So it's not like having a mono leader. It's invisible. It's dang near invisible. When you figure I'm throwing the white braid that is floating on the surface, and again, let's review. I'm fishing 2.5 feet of water most of the time, with the occasional, let's go in the canal and try to catch a snook. But if I'm sight fishing reds in that shallow, clear, flat zone, which most of you are doing too, and catching trout that get trapped in potholes this time of year if you're kayaking or wade fishing, and you've got 5 feet of invisible leader with a tiny little bait, I mean, that's a recipe for success. Now, I'm gonna share a little bit about the rod and reel setup that I've got here. So let's do that next. And so you know how to cast these little light baits on this long a leader. Okay, you've heard me talk about this setup before. This is the, if I do not Bill dance it in here, this is the Fitzgerald Aquafin setup here. I have it paired with a 2000 Shimano Vanford. Why the Vanford in the 2000? For me, it picks up very little line. So I'm looking at maybe 31, 32 inches per handle turn, which allows me to have almost like a bait caster effect. That's why I use bait caster so much, because I have lure speed control. Well, these smaller reels allow that to happen as well. Now it depends on the model, because some models, like for one, the Twin Power from Shimano, they're famous for picking up a lot of line, so I would not use a Twin Power on this. So, but the Vanford does a good job, and the whole thing is so light. 10-pound diamond braid. And what I like about it is how parabolic this whole setup is, because I'm throwing these tiny baits with this terminal tackle with very light wire hooks. So you want something forgiving. I have that little, between the forgiveness in the rod, in the Fitzgerald rod, and the forgiveness in this leader, because believe it or not, fluorocarbon leaders or fluorocarbon line, there is stretch in fluorocarbon line. They stretch. You can see it stretching right here. They definitely stretch. So all of that makes it possible where I don't open up these little thin wire pieces of terminal tackle that Z-Man makes, and I can have a lot of success and confidence throwing to these fish in potholes or along oyster bar troughs, where I have to let them run a little bit. I can't manhandle them, but I do know I have some abrasion resistance with this fluorocarbon, especially in the 30-pound weight, right here, where they're not gonna get me with their mouth if it's a snook, hard-mouthed fish like a snook. And I know that that rod is going to allow me to play the fish out. And you know, Shimano makes a very high quality reel. So that whole entire system really works well. The NED leader. The NED leader is the key. And I'm so happy that someone brought that up, because it gave me the perfect opportunity to talk about this step-down system, because this is a system that we've talked about before, but the ability for that tiny little modified Albright knot that's damn near invisible, I can't even hardly see it between these two lines, and I mean, I'll try to put it up there where you can see it, but it's so small, and you don't even hear it go through the guide. I can reel it down all the way to the first guide on my rod, and you don't even hear it go through. It's amazing. So between this lightweight setup that makes no noise going in or out, it's not going to give me any wind knots or anything like that, the stretchability of this, the fact that it's so lightweight and so supple that that little Z-Man shrimp or that little TRD finesse or the TRD minnows, it's going to be so lifelike. It's not going to be weighted down with one long stretch of the same weight leader. Okay, well, that's today's lesson here on FlatsClass YouTube. As always, I would love for you guys to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I want you in my classroom every day, because we put a video out every day for all of you. Until next time, you guys keep them rods